My name is Isabella Torres, and I'm 32 years old. 3 weeks before Thanksgiving, my mother called to tell me I wasn't invited to our family dinner because my sister's wealthy boyfriend would be embarrassed by my blue collar job. A kindergarten teacher, she said, as if the words tasted bitter. Sophia needs to make the right impression. What they didn't know, what none of them knew, was the truth about who I really was. 5 days after that dinner, they showed up at my door, faces pale, demanding answers. The boyfriend? He'd discovered something that changed everything. And my sister's perfect world? It was about to crumble in front of 500 witnesses. Before we continue, please take a moment to like and subscribe, but only if this story truly resonates with you. Share your location and local time if you've ever been the family disappointment. It started with that phone call 3 weeks before Thanksgiving. I'd been teaching kindergarten for 8 years in Queens. My one-bedroom apartment cost me half my salary, but I loved my work. 25 5-year-olds called me Miss Bella, and their sticky-fingered hugs were worth more than any paycheck. My sister Sophia would disagree. Sophia lived in a Manhattan penthouse that cost more per month than I made in 3. As marketing director for a boutique firm, she collected Hermes bags like I collected children's drawings. Her Cartier tank watch, a small bonus, she'd called it, cost more than my car. Our mother's Facebook featured Sophia exclusively. My daughter just closed another $1 million deal. Or, Sophia's presentation to the board was brilliant. I appeared in exactly 3 photos over the past 5 years, always in the background. Isabella's smart enough, Mom would tell her friends, but she lacks ambition. Some people are meant for simpler things. The family hierarchy was established early. Sophia got the master bedroom in our childhood home. I got the converted attic. Sophia's achievements covered the refrigerator. Mine went in a drawer. We don't want her to feel bad, Dad would whisper, sliding my honor roll certificate out of sight whenever Sophia brought home anything less than perfect. But I had a secret, one I'd kept for 2 years, since Grandma Eleanor died. The woman who raised me more than my parents ever did, who spent her final months holding my hand while Sophia was too busy to visit. Eleanor Torres, who everyone thought was just a retired bookkeeper living on Social Security. They had no idea about the papers in my safe, no idea about the empire she'd built in shadows, or why she'd chosen me to guard it. His name is Marcus Stone, Sophia announced during our October family Zoom call. He's an entrepreneur, philanthropist, the kind of man who changes the world. My mother practically squealed. Stone? The Stone Foundation stone? The very same, Sophia preened, angling her laptop to show more of her penthouse backdrop. We met at the Waterford Crystal exhibition. He said I had excellent taste. I almost choked on my tea. Marcus Stone. Of course I knew that name. But I kept my expression neutral, my kindergarten teacher's smile firmly in place. He must be quite successful, Dad ventured, already calculating son-in-law potential. Successful? Sophia laughed, that tinkling sound she'd perfected at her Swiss finishing school. Daddy, he manages hundreds of millions in charitable funds. His family's old money, the kind that builds hospital wings. I watched my parents lean closer to their screen, already imagining the wedding at the plaza, the grandchildren in private schools, the family name elevated to heights they'd only dreamed of. When do we meet him? Mom asked breathlessly. Thanksgiving. I want everything perfect. The house, the meal. Sophia paused, her eyes finding mine through the screen. The guest list. There it was, that look I'd seen 1,000 times before, the one that said I was a problem to be managed. I thought of Grandma Eleanor then, those long afternoons at Sunny Meadows nursing home, where she'd lived her last 2 years by choice, not necessity. People show you who they are when they think you have nothing, she told me, her weathered hands still elegant as she signed documents I helped her review. Remember that, Isabella, especially with family. She'd been right about so many things, about keeping quiet, about letting people underestimate you, about the power of patience. I had no idea then how soon I'd need all three lessons, or that Marcus Stone, the man my sister was so eager to impress, was about to become the key to everything. Grandma Eleanor understood me in ways my parents never tried to. While they fawned over Sophia's MBA pursuits, Eleanor would sit with me in her modest room at Sunny Meadows, teaching me about compound interest and charitable tax law over afternoon tea. Your sister collects handbags, she'd observed once, watching Sophia's Instagram story. You collect hearts. Which do you think lasts longer? Eleanor Torres had built her fortune quietly, anonymously. No one knew the Eleanor Torres Foundation existed, let alone that it controlled 40 million in assets. She'd started with nothing, a widow at 30 with two kids working three jobs. By 70, she was secretly funding scholarships, food banks, and teacher support programs across New York. Sophia visited once this year, Eleanor had noted 6 months before she died. Stayed 12 minutes, asked about my will at minute 10. I'd been there every Sunday for 2 years. Not for money, I hadn't even known about it, but because she was the only family member who saw me, really saw me. The papers are with Whitman and Associates. She'd told me that last month, her voice still strong despite the cancer. Everything's arranged. Just remember, money amplifies character. It doesn't create it. I thought she meant a few $1,000s, maybe her jewelry. I'd signed papers as her healthcare proxy, thinking I was just helping with medical decisions. 2 weeks after her funeral, James Whitman himself had called me. That's when I learned about the foundation, the board position, the conditions attached to every penny of the family inheritance. Your grandmother was very specific, he'd said, sliding documents across his mahogany desk. She believed in testing character when people didn't know they were being tested. I'd kept it all secret for 2 years, waiting, watching. Now, finally, the test was about to begin. The call came November 3rd, 3 weeks before Thanksgiving. Mom's contact photo, her and Sophia at the Hamptons, lit up my phone during my lunch break. Isabella, about Thanksgiving, she started without preamble. We've had to make some adjustments. I set down my peanut butter sandwich. Adjustments? You won't be coming this year? The playground outside my classroom window was full of children laughing. I focused on their joy while my mother explained my exclusion. Marcus is from a very prominent family. Sophia needs to make the right impression, and she paused, gathering courage for cruelty. Your job might give the wrong idea about our family's standing. My job, teaching children. You know what I mean. It's so blue collar. Marcus mingles with CEOs, investors, people who matter. What would you even talk about? Finger painting? I heard Dad clear his throat in the background. He was on speaker, complicit in his silence. Is this Sophia's request or yours, Mom? Does it matter? We all want what's best for Sophia's future. This could change everything for our family. I could hear it then, Sophia laughing in the background, not even trying to hide her presence. Just to be clear, I said, my teacher voice perfectly steady, you're uninviting me from Thanksgiving because my career embarrasses Sophia? Don't be dramatic. It's just one dinner. Next year will be different, once they're engaged. I understand. You do? Mom sounded surprised, maybe even disappointed I wasn't fighting. Perfectly. Give everyone my best. I hung up before she could respond. My hands weren't even shaking. Grandma Eleanor had taught me that too. Never let them see you bleed. My phone buzzed immediately. A text from Sophia. It's nothing personal. You understand, right? This is my shot at real happiness. I didn't respond. But I did open my safe and pull out a folder labeled Eleanor Torres Foundation, Succession Protocols. Inside, a sticky note in Grandma's handwriting. When they show you who they are, believe them. Sophia called an hour later, probably worried my silence meant rebellion. I knew Mom would make it sound worse than it is, she began, her voice dripping false concern. But Isabella, be realistic. You make 40,000 a year teaching snot-nosed kids. Marcus's watch costs more than that. I'm aware of income disparities, Sophia. Are you? Because sometimes I wonder if you understand the real world. The world I'm entering, Marcus's world. It's all about connections, influence, power. What would you contribute? Cute stories about playground drama? I let her talk. Sometimes the best teaching tool is silence. His circle includes Fortune 500 CEOs, ambassadors, people who vacation with senators. And you'd show up in your Target dress, talking about lesson plans and parent-teacher conferences? Can you imagine how that would reflect on me? You're right, I said quietly. I don't belong in that world. Finally, some sense. Look, it's not forever. Once Marcus and I are married, once I'm established, maybe we can ease you in. Small dinners first. We'll coach you on what to say, what to wear. That's generous. I'm trying to help you, Isabella. This is my chance at real happiness, real success. Don't you want that for me? I want you to be happy, Sophia. Then stay away from Thanksgiving. And Isabella, don't even think about just showing up. I'll have you removed if necessary. The threat hung between us. My baby sister, who I'd walk to school every day, who'd cried in my arms when boys broke her heart, was threatening to have security escort me from our family dinner. Understood, I said. Enjoy your dinner. After she hung up, I opened my laptop and logged into the Foundation's board portal. There it was on the calendar. Annual Gala, November 29th. 3 days after Thanksgiving. 500 guests. Full media coverage. Perfect. I opened my safe that night and spread everything across my kitchen table. The will, the board appointment, the certification of shares. Each document pristine, notarized, indisputable. Eleanor's will was a masterpiece of foresight. The family inheritance, $15 million and 3 properties, came with one unbreakable condition. The beneficiary must demonstrate consistent kindness and refuse to discriminate based on social or economic status. Subsection 7.3 was particularly interesting. Any act of deliberate exclusion of family members based on their profession, income, or social standing will result in immediate forfeiture of all claims. Eleanor had even included examples, such as but not limited to, refusing family invitation due to embarrassment over their honest work. My phone buzzed. An email from James Whitman. Ms. Torres, confirming your attendance at the gala, the board is eager to formally introduce you. I typed back. I'll be there. Please ensure media coverage includes the Foundation's history segment. Of course. Your grandmother's video message will play after your introduction. Video message? I'd almost forgotten. Eleanor had recorded it 6 months before she died, for the right moment, she'd said. I pulled up the Foundation's website, looking at the Board of Directors page. There I was, listed as Chairman of the Board, my photo notably absent at my request. Below my name, appointed by founder Eleanor Torres, 2023. Marcus Stone would know exactly who I was the moment he did his due diligence, if he hadn't already. I thought about calling Sophia, warning her. Then I remembered her words. Don't even think about showing up. Fine, I wouldn't show up to Thanksgiving, but the gala? That was business. I sent one more email, this time to the Foundation's event coordinator. Please add 5 names to the guest list. The Torres family. Send the invitations directly to me. I'll handle delivery personally. My grandmother always said revenge was beneath us. But justice? Justice was everything. If you've ever been excluded by family who thought you weren't good enough, leave a comment. Your story matters, and don't forget to subscribe. The twist coming next will change everything. Thanksgiving arrived gray and drizzling. I ordered Chinese food from Mr. Lu's, orange chicken and lo mein for one. My phone stayed silent until 2 in the afternoon when Sophia's Instagram story appeared. The dining room at my parents' house had been transformed. Crystal glasses I'd never seen, new china with gold edges, fresh orchids as centerpieces. Sophia posed with Marcus, her hand strategically placed to show a diamond tennis bracelet I assumed was new. Perfect family dinner with my love, her caption read. Grateful for family who understand what really matters. Hashtag blessed future stones. Marcus looked uncomfortable in the photos. His smile didn't reach his eyes, and in one candid shot, he was staring at an empty chair, my chair, with a furrowed brow. A text came through from Jennifer, my teacher friend. Saw Sophia's post. Why aren't you in any photos? Scheduling conflict, I replied. On Thanksgiving? Isabella, what really happened? I didn't answer. Instead, I scrolled through more of Sophia's stories. Mom had posted too. So proud of my successful daughter and her wonderful boyfriend. The future is bright. 23 comments, all gushing about what a beautiful couple Sophia and Marcus made. My cousin Amy wrote, Where's Isabella? Sophia had replied, She had other plans. You know how dedicated teachers are to their work. Lying came so easily to her. My fortune cookie that night read, Patience is bitter, but its fruit is sweet. Mr. Liu always did have impeccable timing. I folded the fortune and tucked it into my wallet, next to the gala invitation I'd be hand delivering soon. 3 days. 72 hours until everything changed. My phone buzzed once more. An unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me swipe. Isabella Torres? The voice was professional, careful. Yes? This is Marcus Stone. We need to talk. I didn't have to wait long for the conversation with Marcus to bear fruit. 5 days after Thanksgiving, at 7 in the morning, someone pounded on my apartment door like they were trying to wake the dead. Through the peephole, I saw my parents. Mom's usually perfect hair was disheveled. Dad's face was red, either from anger or the 3 flights of stairs. I opened the door in my teaching clothes, khakis and a cardigan with alphabet buttons. Good morning. What did you do? Mom pushed past me without invitation. What did you say to Marcus? I haven't spoken to Marcus. Not a lie. He'd done all the talking during our brief call. Don't play dumb. Dad slammed the door behind him. He broke up with Sophia yesterday at brunch in public. I poured myself coffee, noting neither parent had ever visited my apartment before. It took a family crisis to get them here. That must be upsetting for her. Upsetting? Mom's voice climbed octaves. He walked into the foundation office and saw your portrait. Your portrait, Isabella, as chairman of the board. Ah, so that's how he'd found out. Why didn't you tell us? Dad demanded. How could you hide something like this? The same way you hid uninviting me to Thanksgiving? That's different, Mom started. Is it? You didn't want me there because my job embarrassed Sophia. Because I'm too blue collar for her rich boyfriend. Your words, Mom. Sophia's devastated. She says you sabotaged her on purpose. I did nothing. Marcus discovered the truth on his own. Fix this, Dad ordered, using his bank VP voice. Call Marcus. Tell him you'll resign, whatever it takes. No. No? Mom's face went pale. Your sister's happiness meant more to you than my dignity. I understand. But I won't lie or resign to fix what Sophia broke herself. You want to know the whole truth? I set down my coffee. Come to the foundation gala tomorrow night. Everything will be explained. What gala? I handed them the embossed invitations I'd been saving. The Eleanor Torres Foundation annual gala. Black tie. 8 o'clock. The Ritz-Carlton. Mom stared at the invitation, at Grandma's name in elegant script. Mother's Foundation? Bring Sophia. She'll want to hear this. They left clutching those invitations like lifelines or maybe grenades. The family assault began within hours. Sophia arrived at my school during afternoon pickup, mascara streaking her cheeks despite her waterproof claims. How could you? She wailed, not caring that parents were staring. You've always been jealous of me. Sophia, I'm working. I guided my last student to her mother, maintaining my professional smile. You poisoned him against me, told him lies. I've never spoken to Marcus about you. Liar. He said he can't be with someone who's ashamed of their own family. Where would he get that idea? From you, I thought, but didn't say. Mom called while Sophia was still ranting. Your father and I have discussed this. You need to step down from whatever position you have. Sophia deserves this chance at happiness. And I deserve to spend Thanksgiving with my family. That's petty, Isabella. We're talking about Sophia's entire future. No, we're talking about consequences. Dad took the phone. Be reasonable. Sophia has worked hard for her success. And I haven't? Teaching kindergarten isn't the same as. I hung up. Sophia grabbed my arm. I'll contest the will. I'll prove you manipulated Grandma. With what evidence? She had dementia. She had cancer. Her mind was perfect until the end. Every document was witnessed by medical professionals. You turned her against me. You visited her once in 2 years, Sophia, for 12 minutes. Her face crumbled then, real tears finally flowing. For a moment, I saw my little sister, the one who used to crawl into my bed during thunderstorms. Please, she whispered. I love him. Then you should have been honest with him. I'll do anything. Come to the gala tomorrow. Listen to what Grandma had to say. Then we'll see. She left without another word, but I knew she'd be there. The possibility of salvaging her fortune would ensure it. Marcus called that evening. I recognized his voice immediately, measured, thoughtful, nothing like the entitled air Sophia had described. Ms. Torres, I apologize for the ambush. I needed to understand who you really were. And? Your staff speaks highly of you. 12 teachers mentioned you've personally covered their supply costs. The principal says you volunteer every weekend for the breakfast program. That's my job. No, that's your character. Which makes me wonder why Sophia told me you were unemployed, living off family money. I said nothing. Sometimes silence is the most honest response. She said you were bitter about her success, he continued, that you'd been institutionalized for depression, that the family had to exclude you from events because you caused scenes. Each lie was a small knife. I'd had no idea how thoroughly she'd erased me. When I saw your portrait at the foundation, your grandmother's foundation, I realized I'd been deceived, but I need to know why you didn't tell me yourself. Would you have believed me? Or would you have thought I was the jealous sister Sophia described? A long pause. You wanted me to discover it myself. I wanted you to know who you were really dating, someone who could erase her own sister for social gain. She's been calling me non-stop, begging for another chance, saying you've poisoned her family against her. I've done nothing except exist inconveniently. Will you be at the gala? I'm the chairman. I have to give a speech. Sophia will be there. She's desperate to maintain her connection to the foundation's donors. I know. This will destroy her professionally. No, Mr. Stone, she destroyed herself. I'm just refusing to hide it anymore. He was quiet for a moment. Your grandmother must have been remarkable. She was, and she believed in accountability. I'll see you tomorrow night, Miss Torres. Marcus, bring your board members. They should hear this too. After he hung up, I pulled out my speech notes. 24 hours until truth met consequences. At midnight, my doorbell rang. Through the peephole, Sophia stood in designer sweats, her face puffy but determined. We need to talk, she said when I opened the door. I let her in. She'd never visited before, and I watched her take in my modest space, the teaching awards on the walls, the student artwork, the photos of Grandma Eleanor and me. Nice place, she said, her tone suggesting otherwise. Very you. What do you want, Sophia? Her demeanor shifted, tears evaporating. I know about the inheritance. What inheritance? Don't play dumb. 15 million, the properties. It's all in the will, isn't it? How would you know that? I have friends at Whitman and Associates. Illegal, but unsurprising. And I'm the rightful heir. I'm the one who represents this family professionally. I'm the one who needs it. For what? More Hermes bags? For my life. Do you understand what circles I move in? The people I have to keep up with? You wouldn't understand. You're happy being nobody. I'm happy being myself. God, you're sanctimonious. She stood, pacing, just like Grandma, always judging me for wanting more. She never judged you, Sophia. She just saw you. What's that supposed to mean? Come to the gala. You'll understand. I'll contest the will. I'll say you exerted undue influence. Try it. She stepped closer, her voice dropping. Or we could make a deal. You resign from the foundation, support my claim to the inheritance, and I'll make sure you're taken care of. $1 million, tax-free. No, 2 million. Sophia, there's something you should know. Grandma left a video message for the gala. Her face went white. What kind of message? The kind that explains everything, including why she made the choices she did. You've seen it? Tomorrow, everyone will. She left without another word, but her perfume lingered. Tom Ford, expensive and suffocating, just like her love. The morning of the gala, I sat in my empty classroom, staring at Eleanor's photo on my desk. Was I doing the right thing? Or was I just being vindictive? My phone had 37 missed calls. Extended family, mutual friends, all suddenly interested in my life. The family group chat, which I'd been removed from months ago, had apparently exploded. Cousin Amy sent screenshots. Isabella is trying to steal Sophia's inheritance. She manipulated Grandma. Always knew she was bitter about being the failure. Failure. Because I taught children instead of selling luxury brands to people who didn't need them. I nearly called James Whitman to cancel everything. Let Sophia have the money. Let my parents have their golden child. Let me fade back into the background where they'd always preferred me. Then I looked at my wall of student photos. 25 bright faces who believed Miss Bella could do anything. Who didn't care that my car was 10 years old or my clothes came from Target. I opened my desk drawer and found the note Grandma had slipped me that last day. Stand up for what's right, even if you stand alone. I'm trying, Grandma, I whispered. My phone buzzed. A text from Marcus. The Foundation's major donors are all confirming attendance. Whatever you're planning, it's going to have an audience. Another from James Whitman. Video equipment tested, legal team on standby. Your grandmother would be proud. 6 hours until the gala. I looked at my dress hanging on the door, navy blue, simple, borrowed from Jennifer. Nothing like the designer gowns that would fill that ballroom, but I'd learned something from Grandma Eleanor. It's not the dress that matters, it's the documentation in your briefcase. And mine was bulletproof. The gala is about to change everything. If you want to see how this ends, make sure you're subscribed with notifications on. You won't want to miss what happens when truth meets power. 3 hours before the gala, I met James Whitman at his office. The conference table was covered in documents, each one tagged and numbered. Your grandmother was meticulous, he said, adjusting his wire-rimmed glasses. Every contingency covered, every loophole closed. She knew this would happen? She suspected. Your sister's behavior patterns were consistent. He pulled out a tablet. The video message is cued. She recorded it 6 months before she passed in front of 3 witnesses, myself, Dr. Patterson, and Judge Reynolds. All verifying her mental capacity? Crystal clear. She even took a cognitive assessment that morning, scored perfect. The other board members arrived. Mrs. Stone, no relation to Marcus, Dr. Williams, and Ms. Rodriguez. Each had worked with Eleanor for years, funding scholarships and food programs across the city. We're behind you, Isabella, Mrs. Stone said firmly. Your grandmother chose well. The media will be there, Dr. Williams added. 3 major outlets confirmed. This will be public. That's the point, I said. No more hiding. No more secrets. James handed me an envelope. The board meeting minutes from when you were appointed. Your sister's going to claim manipulation. This proves the board voted unanimously. Based on what? Your grandmother's recommendation, but also your own work. Did you know she had you investigated? Every volunteer hour, every dollar you spent on students, every weekend at the food bank. It's all documented. I hadn't known. Even in death, Eleanor was still teaching me about preparation. One more thing, James said, pulling out a sealed folder. If Sophia challenges the will, this gets opened. Your grandmother called it the nuclear option. What's in it? I don't know. She sealed it herself, but she said it would end any contest immediately. I tucked it into my briefcase, hoping I'd never need it. My phone buzzed. Sophia. I'll be there. We're going to settle this once and for all. Yes, I thought. We certainly are. By 5 o'clock, Sophia had launched her campaign. Instagram, Facebook, even LinkedIn, all featuring the same narrative. Her jealous, unstable sister trying to steal family money through elder abuse. Some people can't stand to see others succeed, she'd written. Mental health issues are serious, and I hope Isabella gets the help she needs. The comments poured in, her carefully cultivated network rallying to her defense. Marketing executives, fashion bloggers, the wellness influencers she'd courted, all echoing her pain at being betrayed by family. Mom called, furious. What have you done? Sophia's reputation is everything to her. And my dignity meant nothing to you. Stop this vendetta. Call off whatever you're planning. Come to the gala, Mom. 8 o'clock. Sophia says you're going to humiliate her. No, I'm going to tell the truth. Dad took the phone. Isabella, be reasonable. We're a family. Are we? Because families don't uninvite each other from holidays for being too poor. Silence. Then, that was a mistake. We see that now. Only because I have something Sophia wants. I hung up and turned off my phone. The noise didn't matter anymore. Jennifer arrived with my dress and makeup bag. You sure about this? They excluded me for being a teacher, called my job embarrassing, said I'd humiliate them in front of Marcus's important friends. And now? Now they'll learn that Grandma's important friends have been funding teachers all along, that the foundation they're so desperate to access exists specifically to support the people they look down on. Poetic justice. Just justice. With documentation. I looked at the clock. 2 hours until curtain. 2 hours until 28 years of being the family disappointment finally meant something. Help me with this zipper? I asked Jennifer. It's time to stop hiding. An hour before the gala, I stood in the Ritz-Carlton's preparation room, reviewing my speech one last time. The invitation list glowed on my tablet. 500 confirmed, including every major philanthropist in the city. James Whitman knocked and entered. The Times is here, the Journal too. They're intrigued by the mysterious announcement promised in the invitation. Good. Your family arrived 10 minutes ago. Your sister is making an entrance. Through the door's window, I glimpsed Sophia in a scarlet Oscar de la Renta gown, working the room like she owned it. Mom and Dad flanked her, their formal wear impeccable, their discomfort visible only if you knew where to look. She's telling people she's about to be named to the board, James said quietly, that tonight is her formal introduction to society. In a way, she's right. Marcus entered with his delegation, 5 board members from Stone Industries, all in conservative black tie. He caught my eye through the window, nodded once. His face gave nothing away. Ms. Torres? A young woman with press credentials approached. Sarah Stone from Channel 7. We heard there's a major announcement about the Torres family legacy? At 9 o'clock sharp. Can you give us a preview? My grandmother believed in transparency. Tonight, we honor that belief. She scribbled notes, hungry for more. I gave her nothing. My phone, finally turned back on, showed 47 messages. I deleted them all unread except one from Marcus. Whatever happens tonight, your grandmother would be proud. James handed me the remote for the presentation screen. The video is cued, just press play when you're ready. I looked at my reflection in the mirror. Navy dress, simple pearls, teaching award pin on my lapel, my own small rebellion. Not the designer gown they'd expect from new money, but exactly what Eleanor would have chosen. Let's go, I told James. It's time to let the document speak. The Ritz-Carlton ballroom glittered like a jewelry box. Crystal chandeliers cast rainbow patterns across 500 guests in their finest attire. Servers circulated with champagne. Cristal, I noticed, remembering how Sophia had once mocked my preference for Prosecco. I entered through the side door, avoiding the main entrance where Sophia held court. She'd positioned herself near the Foundation's banner, gesturing animatedly to a cluster of donors, no doubt spinning her narrative of family legacy and her rightful place in it. Isabella, Mrs. Stone, the board member, not Marcus's relative, embraced me warmly. Your grandmother would love this, her first public gala. Eleanor had always insisted on anonymity, funding quietly, never seeking recognition. Tonight would have horrified and amused her in equal measure. Isabella Torres? A silver-haired woman approached. I'm Margaret Vanderbilt. Your grandmother funded my literacy program for 10 years. I never got to thank her. Before I could respond, others surrounded me. Teachers whose classrooms Eleanor had supplied. Food bank directors she'd kept afloat. Scholarship recipients now running their own nonprofits. None of them had known their benefactor's name until the invitations arrived. Across the room, I watched my parents notice the attention I was receiving. Mom's face went from confused to alarmed. She whispered urgently to Sophia, who spun around, her scarlet dress flaring dramatically. Our eyes met across the sea of evening wear. For a moment, I saw fear flicker across her face. Then she lifted her chin, that Torres pride Grandma always said would be our downfall, and started pushing through the crowd toward me. Ladies and gentlemen, the MC announced, dinner is served. Please find your seats. I'd arranged the seating myself. Sophia at table 1, naturally, right in front of the podium, with perfect view of the presentation screen. Mom and Dad beside her. Marcus at table 2 with his board. The press scattered strategically throughout. As I took my seat at the head table, I felt the weight of 500 curious gazes. They'd come expecting standard charity speeches and polite applause. They were about to witness something far more interesting, the public unraveling of a family's carefully constructed facade. Dinner was served, filet mignon that Sophia barely touched, too busy working the room between courses. She'd managed to charm half her table, her laugh carrying across the ballroom as she told stories about growing up with Grandma Eleanor and learning philanthropy at her knee. I ate quietly, watching her perform. She was good, I'd give her that. Every gesture calculated, every anecdote designed to establish her as Eleanor's spiritual heir. As dessert arrived, Sophia made her move. She stood, tapping her champagne glass with a spoon until the room quieted. I'm sorry to interrupt, she said, her voice carrying perfectly all those presentation skills on display. But I simply can't wait any longer to share something wonderful. The MC looked confused, checking his program. This wasn't scheduled. As many of you know, I'm Sophia Torres, Eleanor Torres's granddaughter. She paused for effect. And I'm thrilled to announce that I'll be taking a leadership role in the foundation, working alongside my dear friend Marcus Stone to expand our mission. Marcus stood abruptly. Sophia, that's not. Oh, Marcus, always so modest. She laughed, that tinkling sound that probably charmed boardrooms. Everyone, Marcus and I have been planning incredible initiatives. The future of the Eleanor Torres Foundation will be discussed by its actual board, Marcus said firmly. And we're not together, Sophia. I made that clear. The room buzzed. Cameras that had been discreetly recording suddenly became obvious, reporters leaning forward. Sophia's composure cracked. This is just a misunderstanding. My sister, she pointed at me, her manicured fingers shaking. She's manipulated everyone. She's not who you think she is. Security? James Whitman said quietly into his phone. No, Sophia's voice rose. You need to know the truth. Isabella is a nobody, a kindergarten teacher who makes nothing, contributes nothing. She tricked our grandmother, isolated her, stole. Two security guards approached, but I stood, raising my hand. Let her finish. The room went silent. Go ahead, Sophia, I said, my teacher voice calm and clear. Tell everyone exactly what you think of me and my job. Don't hold back. She took the bait, of course. She always did. You're an embarrassment, she spat. 40,000 a year, driving that ancient Honda, shopping at Target. You're everything our family isn't supposed to be. And what, I asked quietly, is our family supposed to be? I walked to the podium with measured steps, my borrowed heels clicking against marble. 500 faces turned to follow my movement. The cameras tracked me. Sophia stood frozen at her table, her scarlet dress now looking more like a warning flag than high fashion. Thank you, Sophia, I said into the microphone. That was perfect timing. I clicked the remote. The foundation's logo appeared on the massive screen behind me. Good evening. I'm Isabella Torres, chairman of the board of the Eleanor Torres Foundation. For those who don't know me, which is most of you, I teach kindergarten at PS 47 in Queens. A murmur rippled through the crowd. The contrast between my simple introduction and Sophia's grandiose claims couldn't have been starker. My grandmother, Eleanor Torres, built this foundation over 40 years. She worked 3 jobs as a young widow, invested every spare penny, and quietly accumulated enough wealth to change thousands of lives. She never sought recognition, never wanted galas like this. I clicked again. Photos appeared. Eleanor at food banks, in classrooms, at community centers, always in the background, always anonymous. But tonight, we break that tradition, because Eleanor left us one final lesson about what really matters. Mom grabbed Sophia's arm, trying to pull her down to her seat. Sophia shook her off, her face flushed with rage and champagne. Before we continue, I said, looking directly at my sister, I should mention that 3 days ago, I wasn't supposed to be here. I was uninvited from my family's Thanksgiving dinner because my profession would embarrass my sister in front of her boyfriend. Gasps. The cameras swung between Sophia and me. The boyfriend she mentioned? Marcus Stone, who's here tonight as one of our major donors. Marcus, would you mind confirming what Sophia told you about me? Marcus stood slowly. She said Isabella was unemployed, living off family money, that she'd been institutionalized, that the family had to exclude her from events because she was unstable. The room erupted. Sophia screamed something unintelligible. Now, I said, clicking the remote again, let's hear what Eleanor Torres had to say about all of this. Eleanor's face filled the screen. She sat in James Whitman's office, looking directly at the camera with those sharp eyes that had never missed anything. The timestamp showed 6 months before her death. If you're watching this, Eleanor's recorded voice filled the ballroom, then something has happened that requires absolute clarity about my wishes. The room was silent except for the soft whir of cameras. I am Eleanor Marie Torres, of sound mind and body, as verified by the 3 witnesses present. The camera panned to show James Whitman, Dr. Patterson, and Judge Reynolds. This recording concerns my estate and the conditions attached to it. I watched my parents' faces drain of color. They'd had no idea this existed. My estate consists of $15 million in liquid assets, 3 properties in New York, and controlling interest in the Eleanor Torres Foundation. This inheritance comes with one unbreakable condition. Eleanor paused, her eyes seeming to look directly at Sophia. The beneficiary must demonstrate consistent kindness and refuse to discriminate based on social or economic status. This includes, and I'm being specific here, never excluding family members because of their profession or income level. Sophia stood up, shaking. This is fake. This is. Sit down, Miss Torres, Judge Reynolds said from table 3. I witnessed this recording personally. Eleanor continued. If my primary beneficiary violates this condition through witness discrimination, documented exclusion, or public dismissal of working class professions, they forfeit all claims immediately and permanently. The screen split. On one side, Eleanor. On the other, screenshots appeared. Sophia's texts about my embarrassing job. The Facebook posts mom made about excluding me. The Instagram story. Perfect family -1. My granddaughter Sophia, Eleanor's voice was sad but firm, has shown a pattern of valuing wealth over family, status over substance. If she has excluded Isabella for being a teacher, a profession I deeply respect, then she has failed my test. No! Sophia lunged toward the screen, but security held her back. The inheritance transfers immediately to the secondary beneficiary, Isabella Marie Torres, who has spent 8 years teaching children, every weekend volunteering, and never once boasting about her connection to this foundation. The room exploded. Cameras flashed. Reporters shouted questions. But Eleanor wasn't done. James Whitman took the podium as Eleanor's image froze on screen. He carried a leather portfolio, his movements precise and lawyerly. Ladies and gentlemen, as executor of Eleanor Torres's estate, I'm required to confirm the legal standing of what you've just witnessed. He opened the portfolio, revealing documents tagged with legal seals. On November 23, 2024, Thanksgiving Day, Sophia Torres sent these messages to her sister. He clicked the remote. The texts appeared, each one time-stamped. Your blue-collar job would embarrass me. Stay away from my real family. You're everything our family shouldn't be. These messages, sent voluntarily and documented through cellular records, constitute clear violation of Section 7.3 of Eleanor Torres's will. Those were private, Sophia shrieked. Posted to Instagram, actually, James corrected, showing the screenshot. Very public. Additionally, we have this email from Mrs. Linda Torres to extended family, explaining that Isabella was excluded from Thanksgiving because her profession wasn't, quote, appropriate for the company they were keeping. Mom stood up, wobbling. We didn't know about the will. Irrelevant. The condition isn't dependent on your knowledge, it's dependent on your character. Dr. Patterson stood from his table. I performed cognitive assessments on Mrs. Torres monthly for her last year. Every score was perfect. She was sharper at 90 than most people at 50. Judge Reynolds added. The will was filed with the court 2 years ago. It's been reviewed by 3 separate legal teams. It's ironclad. James pulled out another document. As of this moment, Sophia Torres has forfeited all claims to the Eleanor Torres estate, the full inheritance, $15 million, the Manhattan brownstone, the Hamptons cottage, the Vermont cabin, and controlling interest in this foundation, transfers to Isabella Torres. He turned to my parents. You were named as potential trustees with an annual stipend of $50,000. However, your participation in the discrimination disqualifies you as well. Dad collapsed into his chair. Mom was crying, mascara streaming. This is theft, Sophia screamed. I'll sue. You'll lose, James said simply. Your own words convicted you. Sophia's meltdown was spectacular, even by her standards. She grabbed a champagne flute and threw it at the screen, where Eleanor's frozen image seemed to watch with disappointment. The glass shattered harmlessly against the projection surface. You planned this! She whirled on me, her designer dress tearing at the seam as she moved. You manipulated her. You turned her against me. I visited her, I said quietly, the microphone catching every word. Every Sunday for 2 years. You came once. I was building my career. I had important things. More important than family? I asked. That's what you told Mom, isn't it? That Marcus and his connections were more important than having your sister at Thanksgiving? You don't understand business. You don't understand anything. You're just a teacher. Just a teacher. I let the words hang. The same profession as Mrs. Davidson here, who Grandma funded for 20 years, Mr. Martinez, whose classroom she supplied, Miss Washington, whose students she sent to college. I gestured around the room. Half the people here are teachers, social workers, nonprofit directors, the very people you consider beneath you. Marcus stood. Sophia, you told me your family was in finance, that your grandmother was a society matron. You lied about everything. For you, Sophia turned on him, to fit into your world. My world, Marcus laughed bitterly. My foundation exclusively funds working class initiatives. My mother was a seamstress, my father drove a taxi. I built my wealth to lift others up, not to separate myself from them. He looked at me. Your grandmother and I had the same values. That's why we partnered. Partnership? Sophia's voice cracked. What partnership? The Stone Foundation is cutting all ties with your company, Marcus announced. Effective immediately. We don't work with people who discriminate against the communities we serve. The dominoes fell fast. 3 other major donors at nearby tables stood, announcing they too were severing relationships with Sophia's firm. Her phone, sitting on the table, lit up with what I assumed were panicked calls from her business partners. You've destroyed me, she whispered, finally understanding. No, Sophia. You destroyed yourself the moment you decided I wasn't good enough to sit at your table. I returned to the podium, waiting for the chaos to settle. Security had moved closer to Sophia, but she'd collapsed into her chair, sobbing into her hands while Mom rubbed her back ineffectively. I want to be clear about something, I said, my voice steady. I never wanted the money. I didn't know about the will's conditions until after Grandma died. I kept quiet because I wanted my family to show me who they really were when they thought I had nothing to offer. I clicked the remote. A new slide appeared. The Eleanor Torres Equal Dignity Initiative. Tonight, I'm announcing that the entire $15 million inheritance will be donated to the foundation. It will fund a new program specifically for underpaid essential workers, teachers, caregivers, social workers, people like the ones my family thought weren't good enough. Applause erupted. Cameras flashed. The properties will be converted into affordable housing for educators in New York City. No teacher should have to choose between their calling and a living wage. More applause. I saw teachers in the audience crying. Sophia, I addressed my sister directly. You're not cut off. I'm offering you a position with the foundation. Volunteer position, of course. 20 hours a week, working directly with the communities you've dismissed. You can learn what Grandma knew, that dignity isn't determined by income. You're humiliating me, she hissed. No, I'm offering you redemption. The same chance Grandma gave me every Sunday when she taught me that wealth without compassion is just greed with better accessories. I turned to my parents. The offer extends to you both. Family therapy is non-negotiable if you want any relationship with me going forward. Respect isn't optional anymore. Dad nodded slowly, understanding. Mom was still staring at Sophia like she was seeing her for the first time. One last thing, I said, pulling out the sealed envelope James had given me. Grandma left this, called it the nuclear option if anyone contested the will. Should I open it, Sophia? My sister shook her head violently, terror replacing anger. Whatever she suspected was in there, she didn't want it public. Then we're done here. The media coverage was swift and brutal. By morning, heiress loses millions over Thanksgiving snub was trending. The New York Times ran a feature. When snobbery costs 15 million, a modern morality tale. Sophia's marketing firm lost 7 major clients in 48 hours. Her Instagram, once carefully curated with luxury and success, was flooded with comments calling her out for elitism and cruelty. She deleted her accounts by day 3. My parents came to my apartment a week later, looking older, smaller somehow. Dad spoke first. We failed you. Both of you, actually. We created this dynamic. We thought success meant money, Mom added quietly. Your grandmother tried to tell us otherwise, but we didn't listen. Are you willing to do the work? I asked. Real therapy? Not just apologies? They agreed. Dr. Kim, who specialized in family dynamics and class issues, would see us weekly. Marcus and I met for coffee to discuss the foundation's future. Your grandmother would be proud, he said. You handled that with more grace than I would have. She taught me that revenge makes you smaller, justice makes you stronger. What about Sophia? She moved to Chicago, got a job at a non-profit, the only place that would hire her, makes $35,000 a year now. Ironic. Educational. She sent a letter last week. First honest thing she's written to me in years. I didn't tell him I hadn't opened it yet. Some wounds need time before you test their healing. The Foundation's first initiative launched a month later, emergency grants for teachers facing eviction. We funded 300 in the first week. Each thank you letter went into a folder labeled Why This Matters, my answer to anyone who questioned the value of blue-collar work. The Times did a follow-up story 6 months later. They photographed me in my kindergarten classroom, surrounded by 5-year-olds during story time. The headline read, "The Billionaire Teacher Who Gave It All Away." But the photo caption was my favorite. Isabella Torres, chairman of the Eleanor Torres Foundation, teaching her students about kindness. Her grandmother's greatest lesson, she says, was that dignity isn't measured in dollars. Sophia saw it. I know because she texted, "Grandma would choose you all over again." She chose both of us, I replied. You just haven't accepted the lesson yet. 6 months after the gala, I still taught kindergarten. My classroom hadn't changed much. Same alphabet posters, same reading corner, same circle time rug. But everything else had transformed. The foundation had distributed $4 million in emergency grants to teachers, funded 50 classroom renovations, and launched a program providing free supplies to any educator who asked. No paperwork, no justification needed. Eleanor would have loved the simplicity. PS 47 received a $2 million grant for infrastructure and resources. My principal cried when I handed her the check. Your grandmother never forgot us, she said. I didn't correct her assumption that Eleanor had planned this. In a way, she had. My parents were in therapy, making slow progress. Mom had stopped mentioning Sophia's past success entirely, focusing instead on small conversations about the present. Dad volunteered at the Foundation's weekend programs, teaching financial literacy to immigrant families. Penance, he called it. Marcus and I became unexpected allies. The Stone Foundation partnered with ours for a nationwide initiative supporting working-class families. We kept it professional, though I sometimes caught him looking at me with something like regret for what might have been if we'd met differently. Time magazine named me Philanthropist of the Year. I wore the same navy dress from the gala to the photo shoot. The interviewer asked why I still taught when I could do bigger things. 25 5-year-olds trust me to teach them to read, I said. There's nothing bigger than that. The article mentioned Sophia once, noting she'd declined to comment. What they didn't know was that she'd started volunteering at a Chicago food bank, 20 hours a week, just like I'd suggested. The director, an old friend of Eleanor's, sent me updates. She's learning, she wrote. Slowly, but she's learning. I kept Eleanor's photo on my desk, next to the crayon drawings and construction paper cards. Sometimes, during quiet moments, I'd tell her about the lives we were changing. You were right, Grandma, I'd whisper. Standing up for what's right is lonely at first, but eventually, the right people stand with you. A year after that Thanksgiving exclusion, I finally opened Sophia's letter. She'd written it in purple ink, the same color she'd used for notes when we were kids, before money and status poisoned everything. Isabella, it began, I used to think Grandma chose wrong, that you'd manipulated her into giving you everything. But I work at a food bank now, making less than you do. And yesterday, a woman cried because we gave her groceries without making her prove she deserved them. I think I finally understand what Grandma saw, what you both saw. That dignity isn't something you earn or buy. It's something you recognize in everyone, or you don't have it yourself. She didn't ask for forgiveness, didn't suggest reconciliation, just acknowledged the truth we'd both always known, but only one of us had accepted. I folded the letter, placed it in Eleanor's folder, the one with all the important documents. Not the legal ones, but the human ones. The thank you notes from teachers, the drawings from students, the photos of families in the houses we'd converted from my inheritance properties. Looking back, I could have handled Thanksgiving differently, could have fought to be included, begged for my place at the table, could have revealed my position earlier, used it as leverage for respect. But Eleanor taught me that respect earned through power isn't respect at all. It's fear dressed in nicer clothes. The family that excluded me for being just a teacher learned that their values were bankruptcy dressed in designer labels. The inheritance they lost was never really about money. It was about understanding that the woman serving your coffee deserves the same dignity as the one buying the coffee shop. Your worth isn't negotiable. It doesn't increase with your salary or decrease with someone's opinion. Stand firm in that knowledge, even if you stand alone, especially then. Thank you for listening to my story. This is Isabella Torres, reminding you that you are enough, exactly as you are. Your job doesn't define your worth. Your family's opinion doesn't determine your value. And sometimes, the best inheritance you can receive is the knowledge that you don't need anyone else's validation to know your own dignity. Until next time, keep standing tall, even in a Target dress, especially in a Target dress.